Hey, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video. And if this one helps you out, a like genuinely goes a long way for us. Let's get into it. Americans spend somewhere between $16 and $17 billion a year on bottled water. $16 billion on a substance that flows freely and cleanly from almost every tap in every home in this country for a fraction of a cent per gallon. Bottled water is not just a product. It is arguably the single greatest marketing achievement of the 20th century. The successful transformation of a free public resource into one of the most purchased consumer goods on earth. And understanding exactly how that happened, what most bottled water actually is, and what it's costing the average household every year is the subject of today's video. Let's start at the beginning, because the story of how bottled water became a mass market product in America is genuinely fascinating, and more than a little alarming once you see how deliberately it was constructed. Before the 1970s, bottled water in the United States was a niche product consumed primarily by people who couldn't access clean tap water or who were in locations without reliable infrastructure. It was not a lifestyle product. It was not a health statement. It was not something a person in a city with functioning plumbing thought to buy. Tap water was water. You drank it from the tap. The shift began with Perrier. The French sparkling mineral water brand launched an aggressive marketing campaign in the United States in the mid-1970s, targeting affluent, health-conscious, and status-aware consumers. They positioned the product as a sophisticated European alternative, something cultured people drank instead of soda, something associated with continental elegance and natural purity. Perrier wasn't just selling water, it was selling an identity. The small green bottle became a status symbol in certain social circles, and that status signal was the first crack in the cultural assumption that water came from the tap and was free. Evian followed with a similar positioning through the 1980s. Pure alpine spring water. The imagery of pristine glaciers and untouched mountain sources, a product that communicated health and refinement. The market that Perrier opened, Evian helped define, and through the 1980s, bottled still water established itself as a legitimate premium consumer product among a specific demographic of health-focused affluent buyers. Then in the 1990s, everything changed and the market exploded. Because the major soft drink companies, Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, looked at bottled water and saw not a niche premium product, but a mass market opportunity. And they had the distribution networks, the retail relationships, the marketing budgets, and the production infrastructure to take something that had been a specialty product and put it in every gas station, vending machine, convenience store, and supermarket checkout lane in America. In 1994, Pepsi launched Aquafina. In 1999, Coca-Cola launched Dasani. And this is where the story gets particularly interesting. Both of these brands, presented to consumers through packaging imagery of mountains and streams and purity, are filtered municipal tap water. Aquafina is purified tap water from public water sources. Dasani is purified tap water from municipal water supplies with added minerals for taste. This was not hidden information that came to light through investigative journalism. It was disclosed. The label said purified water or public water source in smaller print. But the marketing, the blue tone photography of mountain streams, the language of purity and refreshment, created an image entirely disconnected from the reality that the water came from the same municipal system as what flows from your kitchen faucet. To be completely fair, the purification process Coca-Cola and Pepsi use does produce a clean, consistent product. Reverse osmosis filtration removes virtually everything from municipal water before the minerals are added back in. You are not being sold dirty water. You are being sold very clean municipal water in a bottle at a markup that ranges from 1,000 to 10,000 times the price of the source water, depending on which way you run the numbers. That price gap is worth sitting with for a moment because the scale of it is genuinely staggering. The average cost of tap water in the United States is approximately half a cent per gallon, about $0.004 per gallon depending on your municipality. A standard 16-ounce bottle of water purchased individually costs somewhere between $1 and $2 at retail. 16 ounces is 1/8 of a gallon, so you are paying $1 to $2 for 1/8 of a gallon of water that costs your municipality quality less than 1/10 of a cent to deliver. The markup on bottled water, even the municipal source brands, is not 10% or 50% or even 10 times. It is routinely between 1,000 and 10,000 times the cost of the water inside the bottle. The spring water brands carry their own layer of mythology worth examining. The imagery on the packaging of spring and mineral water brands almost universally features glaciers, snow-capped mountains, ancient rock formations, and pristine wilderness. The Fiji water bottle shows a tropical flower and an untouched waterfall. The actual sourcing location is an artesian aquifer on the island of Fiji, which is real, but Fiji has documented issues with tap water quality that affect a portion of its own population, while the water is bottled and shipped thousands of miles to be sold as premium hydration in American grocery stores. The Poland Spring brand has faced legal challenges over whether its sources qualify as springs under the regulatory definition. Multiple major brands have been involved in sourcing disputes or labeling controversies over the years. None of this makes the water unsafe. What it does is illustrate the gap between the image the marketing creates and the reality of the product, a gap that consumers are paying a significant premium to bridge. The taste test evidence is worth covering because it is the most direct challenge to the implicit promise of bottled water. If bottled water tasted distinctly and reliably better than properly filtered tap water, there would be a genuine quality argument for paying the premium. Study after study, including well-controlled blind taste tests conducted by academic researchers and media outlets, finds that most consumers cannot reliably distinguish between bottled water and filtered tap water. In many tests, filtered tap water is preferred by a plurality or even a majority of participants when brand labels are not visible. The taste difference that bottled water buyers believe they are purchasing does not consistently show up when the visual cues and branding are removed from the equation. What changes in a blind test is not the water, it is the removal of the imagery and identity that the marketing has built around it. The marketing fear component is the piece that made mass market bottled water possible at the scale we see today. Through the 1990s and into the 2000s, concerns about municipal water quality, some legitimate, driven by genuine infrastructure issues and news coverage of contamination events, and some amplified by the bottled water industry's own messaging, created a growing distrust of tap water among American consumers. Coverage of lead in pipes, chlorine taste and odor, and various contamination events in specific municipalities created a generalized anxiety about tap water that extended far beyond the communities where actual problems existed. The bottled water industry did not create these infrastructure problems, but it did benefit from them enormously, and its marketing consistently emphasized purity and safety in terms that implicitly positioned tap water as an inferior and potentially risky alternative. The result is a cultural norm that would have been unrecognizable to previous generations. The sight of healthy adults in cities with functioning water infrastructure paying $2 for a plastic bottle of water while walking past water fountains and having clean water available at home. The normalization of this behavior is a marketing achievement without meaningful parallel in consumer history. So what does this actually cost the average household, and what is the realistic alternative? A household that goes through 2 to 3 bottles of water per person per day, which is not unusual for a family that has adopted bottled water as the default, spending roughly $1.50 per bottle, is spending somewhere between $3 and $4 per person per day on water. For a family of 4, that is $12 to $16 a day, which is $4,300 to $5,800 a year. Even at more conservative household consumption of 1 bottle per person per day, the annual cost lands around $2,000 on water. A quality countertop water filter or pitcher, a Brita, a Pure or similar, costs between $20 and $40 to buy, and filters typically need replacing every 1 to 2 months at a cost of $5 to $10 each. Annual filter costs for regular use run between $30 and $80, depending on how much water the household uses and which system they choose. For households with harder water or additional taste concerns, an under-sink filtration system costs more upfront, typically $100 to $300 installed, but delivers filtered water directly from the tap indefinitely at very low ongoing cost. Faucet-mounted filters are another option in the $15 to $40 range. In every scenario, the filtered tap water option costs between 1% and 5% of what the equivalent volume of bottled water costs. The filtration removes the chlorine taste and odor that causes many people to prefer bottled water in the first place. And in blind tests, filtered tap water performs comparably to bottled water. The chemical and mineral safety profile of filtered municipal tap water from a well-maintained system is, if anything, more consistently regulated than bottled water. Municipal tap water is tested and reported on far more frequently and under stricter regulatory requirements than bottled water in the United States. A reusable water bottle. A decent stainless steel or BPA-free plastic bottle. Costs between $10 and $30 and lasts years. It carries filtered tap water wherever you go. It eliminates the single-use plastic completely. And it represents a one-time purchase that replaces thousands of individual bottled water purchases across its lifespan. There are legitimate situations where bottled water makes sense. Travel to countries with unreliable tap water infrastructure. Emergency preparedness at home. Locations where municipal water quality genuinely has documented safety concerns and filtration is not sufficient. In these situations, bottled water serves a real and important function. But for the average person in an American city filling a shopping cart with cases of Aquafina to drink at home, the product they are buying is filtered tap water at 1,000 times the price, sold by one of the largest beverage corporations in the world, in packaging designed to suggest something it is not. The $16 billion Americans spend on bottled water every year is one of the most remarkable transfers of money in consumer history. From individuals who have access to a virtually free resource, to corporations that repackage and resell it at margins that would be illegal in almost any other industry if disclosed on the label in straightforward terms. The switch is not a sacrifice. It is a filter, a bottle, and $4,000 to $5,000 staying in your household every year instead of leaving it. Drop a comment if you've already made the switch or if something in this video genuinely surprised you. We read every single one. And if you want us to do a full video on other everyday products where the markup versus the actual production cost is completely disconnected from the price on the shelf, let us know below. Hit the like button if this helped, subscribe and tap the bell if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.